to rock and roll!
Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. Guys, the Gadgets and Gazette would like to seek your comment on the announcement of the new Twist format. Personally, I have a bit of mixed feelings. On the one hand, the announcement of the new format was extremely exciting, as the developers presented a truly unique concept. To be honest, I was expecting a new format, but this implementation exceeded all my expectations. On the other hand, I am worried about the disappearance of the classic format. I've never played this game mode, but does its disappearance create any problems? I'm also interested in changes in the economy of the game. How will the release of the new format affect player spending? Will this new way of playing be competitive with the evergreen standard?
So many questions, Dora. We will try to share our opinion on each of them. But before we continue, we want to share with you an interesting thing.
In the previous video, we discussed the problems associated with cards that can become significantly cheaper, up to zero. Recently, we have been getting more and more tools of this type, which leads to an imbalance. According to a vote on our community tab, the vast majority of players agree with our arguments. But we expected at least half of the players to disagree with the problematic implications of modified cost cards, as they are part of very popular archetypes.
So much consolidation of the community really amazed us. But the most interesting thing was the discussion. Some players believe that cards should not become cheaper than 1 mana. Others argue that this restriction will not fully solve the problem. In addition to this, there are opinions that not all cards of this type are broken.
We want to say a huge thanks to each of you for your interest in this topic. This discussion is extremely important.
Let's move on to the discussion about Twist. First of all, we are excited about the potential of the new format. At the moment we are under the impression that this format has every chance to compete with the standard and even completely kill the wild. We are sure that you have heard a huge amount of positive feedback from well-known members of the community. We, in turn, want to discuss the ambiguous nuances that cause us concern. Therefore, please do not take this video as a negative review.
Guys, let me talk very briefly about Twist. The new format is a kind of hybrid between Wild and Tavern Brawls. The main feature of the new way of playing is the presence of special formats that limit the number of sets and also unique rules. Twist formats are planned to change regularly, but not necessarily with every season. Twist Ladder will be similar to Standard and Wild. The first format chosen for the beta test is called New Age. To create decks, you will have access to Core Set, plus all sets from Ashes of Outland forward. A special rule will also be activated that prohibits the use of neutral cards. In other words, all decks will be created according to the pure Paladin concept, and for this you will have access to the last 10 sets.
Thus, Twist can become the most dynamic and unpredictable mode, but not everyone will get access to this fun. The barrier to entry will be huge for newbies, casual players, and veterans who get rid of cards after every rotation.
Even players who only get rid of useless cards can be punished for their decisions. Since special rules can change the emphasis and make completely useless cards unexpectedly useful. In other words, unlike Standard and even Wild formats, this will be a pay-to-play format to which it will be impossible to adapt over time, since the rules and the pool of available sets will change quite dynamically. Moreover, it will be the most expensive game mode ever. The new format will be a reward for veterans who carefully collected and cherished their collection.
Guys, I think you are over-dramatizing the situation. First, the developers are aware of this flaw and have prepared special battle-ready decks as well as packs and bundles that will allow players without a collection to quickly adapt. Of course, battle-ready decks cost money, but $15 per deck is cheap enough. Even if a player needs to modify the deck with additional cards, it will not be too expensive.
Dora, if one battle-ready deck is enough for a player to reach a high rank, then the expenses will be really insignificant. But you can't deny the fact that the diversity and efficiency in Twist will be expensive, especially if balance changes will apply, and the matter will evolve dynamically. Sometimes pre-made decks differ significantly from the most effective builds. Moreover, after a month, the list of sets and the rules may change, so you will have to make new investments in order to move up the rankings. For free-to-play players, access is practically closed. Even if you try to adapt to the twist format with gold, you will get a slight advantage, but will inevitably lose control of the standard collection. And in a month, your cards may become meaningless, as the rules may change.
Dear friends, don't misunderstand us. Bot and I don't get rid of old cards and have very decent collections, although we are free to play players. We are very excited about the new opportunity to use our old cards and consider the release of the new format to be very important. We are delighted with the concept. But at the same time, we are aware that Blizzard is creating a huge and unreasonably barrier to entry for a huge number of other players. This is the most significant disadvantage of rotating formats, which inevitably leads to problems. We annually urged players not to get rid of sets that left the standard, but the players are not to blame for the fact that the conditions of the game were so cruel and the developers did not support Wild at all for many years. We didn't expect Blizzard to make access to new ways to play completely free. But we would like to see new approaches to monetization. For example, a test subscription model could be created for this format. Pay some money and get access to all cards from Wild sets for one of the classes until the end of the season. In addition, you do not lose the opportunity to purchase packs and build your own collection, you just get the extra option to rent cards during the season. Unique mode requires new unique approaches. We know that not all of you are happy with the subscription concept, but this is the only way to make the new format loyal to as many players as possible. Otherwise, such an ambitious idea can expect extremely low interest and eventually oblivion. We have already seen similar precedents in the past.
I think I'm starting to understand your point of view. As precedents, you mean the current state of duels. The mode had a similar approach. The huge barrier to entry caused low interest, which subsequently led to extremely limited developer support. The mode has been in beta for a long time and has not received significant changes or improvements that would make it as interesting as Dungeon Run. According to Firestone, Arena is significantly more popular than the relatively new draft mode. The same goes for Wild format, which has been showing very little sign of life lately. Not to mention the mercenary mode. Developers don't give a second chance to potentially good concepts that need tweaking to become significantly better if they don't get enough interest from the players.
That's right. The same goes for the classic format. We have been waiting for the development of the classic concept for more than 2 years.
For example, the re-release of Curse of Naxxramas within one of the seasons, as well as experiments with balance or something else. But unfortunately nothing happened. The saddest thing is the fact that Twist will replace the classic format. I really liked this format, although I played it only from time to time. The classic has a unique gameplay that is very different from the modern Hearthstone. Classic cards had roughly the same level of power, which made the gameplay more challenging and fun. The main disadvantage of the format was the presence of a large number of bots. But do not assume that the format had no fans.
I did a poll on the community tab. According to the results, the vast majority of players are excited about the announcement of the new format. Despite this, approximately 15% of the players were not indifferent to the classic format, and don't understand why it should be removed. This is quite an impressive result, given that the community believes that this format consists of bots. According to official data in May, 35,000 players from all over the world reached the legendary rank in the classic format. This is almost 3 times more than in the Wild format. At the same time, a significant increase in the number of legendary players occurred in December and February and coincided with an increase in players in other formats.
We don't know how many bots were among the legendary players, but the format definitely had its audience. Instead of fighting bots, Blizzard opted to remove the format entirely.
Let's remember why the classic format was created. 2 years ago, Blizzard decided to remove the classic set from the standard pool of sets, even though this one was always the foundation of standard and many players invested in it because it wasn't rotated. Instead, the developers introduced the core set. Thus, the classic cards became completely useless. But at the same time, the developers introduced the classic format in which your collection made sense. Some players were definitely still eager to complete the collection in order to get the Diamond Ragnaros. But after the release of Twist, their classic collection will become completely meaningless.
Guys, let's sum it up. As far as I understand, you are happy with the release of the new format. Your only concern is the presence of a large entry barrier for most players and the fact that the developers have removed the classic format.
That's right. We think the classic format definitely deserves to be brought back, but all bots should be excluded from it. Dear viewers, we urge you to give the classic format one last chance. Hurry, there is very little time left. In our opinion, this style of play will give you an unforgettable experience. It really deserves your attention.
At the same time, we consider the announcement of Twist extremely important for the development of the game. Perhaps the new format will start a new era of Hearthstone and will play a key role, or vice versa will repeat the fate of duels.
We are looking forward to the release and hope that Twist will be a great success.
Finally, we can't wait to hear your opinion. Are you ready to collect old cards again for Twist format? Of course, if the gameplay seems interesting to you.
What do you think is more important, adding new ways to play or improving current modes? Should the Twist format have some subscription options as an additional way to access cards?
Share your thoughts in the comments and join the polls in the community tab.
Finally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors. Dear friends, your support is invaluable. Many thanks to each of you.
Separately, we want to welcome our new patron Sir Hawken. Dear friends, your activity and help prolongs the life of our channel. We also want to welcome new subscribers to our mathematician squad. Unfortunately, for technical reasons, we only see nicknames of public subscribers who did not hide the subscription section on their channel, but we are grateful to everyone for joining.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Freestyle!
Job's done.